Hello everyone, I'm Ayan, this is Jai. We also have Norman here with us today, and you're watching the 4th episode of our new series sponsored by Coastal Pets Products of things you can do with your dog while being stuck at home. Today we are going to teach you how to get your dog to walk behind you. So grab your dog, get comfortable, and let's get started. So, for most dog owners, our everyday walk with our dogs is the most time we get to invest in building our relationships. Now, whether your dog is constantly pulling you on a leash or whether he walks perfectly by your side, there is another walking position that most never consider, and that is to ask your dog to walk behind you. We discovered this method as we were living by the shore of the Mediterranean Sea. We used to take daily walks towards the beach, and as we were walking on a narrow path through the fields, I used to challenge Chai by asking him to walk behind me. Only years later, when I was traveling South America, did I understand how valuable was this ability. You see, Chai is a very curious and independent dog, and usually we walk each one in our own pace, maintaining eye contact and making sure that nobody gets lost. But as we were walking through the busy streets of the most crowded cities of the continent, full of distractions and noises and people, I found that the best way to walk with Chai was to ask him to walk behind me. I quickly noticed that by asking him to walk behind me, Chai would stop looking around, exploring and reacting to the different distractions. Instead, after a few minutes of corrections, he would stop trying to overpass me and adopted my natural rhythm of walking. He would lower his gaze towards my feet and began to focus, almost hypnotized, on the walk itself. Unlike all of our other walking methods, whether it's walking freely or walk by my side, as surprising as this sounds, this one was the only one who allowed me to take my focus out of Chai completely. With time, I learned that this walking pattern is a fundamental part of their basic instincts as social beings. In other words, they need to be led just as much as they need to be loved. Now, I know there are many dog owners who are struggling with their dogs pulling them on the leash, and we're also going to give you a few tips about that as well throughout the episode. But I really believe that this command can be taught even to dogs who has a tendency to pull. More than that, by working on leading your dog, there is a really good chance that the pulling will decrease as well. So in this positive note, let's get to work. Okay, so the first thing we need to do before we begin this exercise is rearrange our living room in a way that creates a narrow, natural flow that we can walk through. It's better if it's a loop so that we don't have to start from the beginning every time our runway ends. And then we need to take our dog, grab a leash, have some snacks to encourage good behavior, and that's where we start. We start by asking our dog to sit at the beginning of the runway. Stand in front of him and start walking, meanwhile repeating the word back. Try to also attach a physical gesture as you say the command. Hold the snack behind your back to encourage your dog to focus on it. If your dog tries to overtake you by going on top or under furniture, simply bring him back in position of being behind you and start again. As you return to the spot where he failed before, hold the leash tighter, hold the snack closer to your dog, and walk a bit faster. You can also try and change directions, just to steer things up a bit. Only when you feel your dog is ready, you can push the furniture away and make your runway wider. This will probably set you a step or two back, but don't give up and keep correcting your dog. As you can see, with some persistence, Norman has stopped jumping on the sofa and is now walking behind me very nicely. If you want to push your dog even more, try walking slower and moving the snack forward so that it's in front of your body. Okay, so now once I've realized that Norman is following this command and he knows what I want, and we've been swirling and swirling and swirling around for a long time and I didn't see any need to correct him anymore, now I know we're ready for the extreme test, which is to move this table away and work on an empty space. So let's give it a try and see how it goes. When working on an empty space, hold the leash tighter behind your back and pull it whenever your dog is leaning a bit towards one of the sides. Remember that the goal is to eventually use your body as a screen that blocks all distractions. Therefore, it's important to perfect his position by getting him to walk close to you and to inline him with your course as much as you can. And just like before, if you're struggling, you can always turn around, face the dog, and walk backwards to gain better control. Okay guys, great. So that was the indoor part of this exercise, and I'm so proud of Norman because you can see clearly the learning curve and how he improved from the beginning till the end of this practice. Now, all of this doesn't really matter unless we take it to the outside world. And the problem usually is once we go out there, we are encountering so many difficulties and we're basically going 5 steps backwards from the results we saw here in our own living rooms. But if you think about it, there has never been a better time to work outside because now there is hardly anyone out there and it's quiet and there's so fewer distractions. So I really encourage you to take this time and take your dog and work on it outside, because once everything gets back to normal, you will see the fruits of all the hard work you've been putting. So with that said, let's go outside and I'll show you step by step how to get your dog to walk behind you without natural barriers, without anything but your own leadership. Okay, before we get back to the outer part of this exercise, I want to talk for a second about dog who has a tendency to pull. If we understand why they do that, we increase the chance of getting better results in this exercise and in walking together in general. So, why do our dogs pull? In my eyes, there are 4 explanations. Usually it's all of them together, and I'm going to try and be very brief about them. So the first one, they simply walk faster than us. What can we do about it? If you trust your dog not to run away, then it's better if you find an open, safe place to let him walk in his own pace. The second one, they have a lot of energy from being at home all day. What can we do about that? You need to adapt your travels and your walks depending on how much energy your dog has. Some dogs need a little bit of energy extraction and some dogs need a lot of it. And you have to make sure that at the end of the day your dog is tired and happy. Third, everything excites them. Think about it, they hardly get out of the house, only for 2 or 3 walks a day. If you want to get your dog to be less excited, what you need to do is start taking him with you to more places. By being more exposed, things will become less and less exciting. Fourth, and that is the most important one, the reasons dogs are pulling their owners is because they can. If you decide today that you had enough of pulling and you will never ever have it again, all you need to do in order for that to happen is to be 100% persistent. As long as there is attention on the leash, we are not moving anywhere. Now, if you're asking yourself what is the best way to correcting your dog when he's pulling you in the leash, then first I want to say that there are many different approaches to how to address this problem. Some trainers are using choking collars on the dog, or some wait for the tension to be created and immediately pull them as hard as they can back to where they're standing. If you want to go with a bit of a softer approach, then whenever there is a tension caused in the leash, you turn around immediately 180 degrees and you keep on doing that so the dog never gets anywhere as long as there's tension on the leash. And if you really want to go with a positive vibe, then at the minute there is a tension on the leash, you call your dog, ask them to sit, give them a snack, and then we start over again. Now, each one of these methods has a different measurement of softness to it, and what you should understand is that the softer you go and the more positive you choose to go, usually it means it takes you longer to see the results. But there is one thing in common to all of these approaches, and that is consistency. If you're really up for the challenge, then first you have to choose one of the methods that you relate to and stick to it no matter what. There is one thing you have to remember. Whenever your dog is pulling you, the opposite of what he wants needs to happen. So if he wants to move forward, you need to stay in place. The only way your dog is going to ever move forward from today onwards is if you walk together without a shred of attention on the leash. And having said that, now it's time to get back to our original exercise. So, when you decide you're ready to practice outside, my recommendation is to do it at the end of every walk, on the way back home, when your dog is more relaxed. Try to find a wall or a narrow sidewalk so that you only have to control one side. We begin when the dog is sitting down like we did in the indoor practice. To make things easier in the beginning, we'll start by standing in front of our dogs, facing them and walking back. Start walking as you repeat the word back and make the physical gesture as well. If your dog tries to overtake you, use your feet to block his way or move with him so that you're always in line. Depending on the dog, this part of the exercise could take some time to show results, maybe even days, but remember to work with snacks and don't give up. Only when you feel comfortable working next to a wall, you can try this command on an open space outside as well. Now, I just want to say how happy I am with the progress Norman demonstrated today. Just for a reference, Norman also have a big problem with pulling while being on the leash. But even though we didn't address that problem at all, it is clear to see how well he is doing in learning how to walk behind me. And also, the pulling is actually improved a little bit as well. It is unbelievable that this dog that is now walking behind me like a pro is the same one who jumped on the table earlier this morning to get my attention. If this is the progress you may manage to see in just one hard day of work, imagine what could you accomplish if you work a little bit every day and take advantage of this priceless time. Who knows, maybe by the end of this corona thing, you can get your dog to be everything you've ever dreamed of. Okay guys, so that will be all for today. I really hope you like this video. I really hope you're going to try and work with your dog and see some great results. If you're struggling in any way or if something here didn't work for you, you're more than welcome to leave a comment below and I will get back to all of you and see if I can help. Also, I remind you that you're more than welcome to post videos of you working with your dogs on Walk Behind Me, and maybe some of you will get to be featured in our Instagram stories. As well, I want to thank Coastal Pets Products for sponsoring this video and for encouraging all of us to be better leaders for our dogs. Now, these guys have an amazing lines of leashes and collars and harnesses that can really help you build a better bond as you walk with your dog and work on these pulling and Walk Behind Me. So I'm going to leave a link in the description box below and you're more than welcome to have a look. And on the next episode of this series, we will be doing some cooking. I'm going to teach you how to make super tasty homemade treats and snacks for your dogs that will leave them drooling from happiness. If you want to be reminded when the video gets posted, then you should definitely subscribe to our YouTube page or follow us on Instagram or Facebook under Practice Freedom. And that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching and have an amazing weekend.